This is a video demonstrating a Yale and Towne delayed action timer, also known as a DAT. I have taken the time lock apart to show the various components. Here you have the case, you have the movement mounting plate, you have one standard T-style movement, which is Yale's smallest movement, and here is the heart of the lock, which is the delayed action timer, and then over here is a bolt, which we will use for demonstration purposes. The delayed action timer has a dial that is denoted between 0 and 7 hours, and you can see the 7 here. This is the hours on the inside and the minutes on the outside. So it can be set anywhere from 15 minutes to as long as 7 hours. Now, what makes this movement different from a standard T movement, aside from the fact that it has a much shorter duration, whereas a standard T movement had a duration of 72 hours, is this little mechanism here in the back, and you can see it being moved here. What that does is it catches the escape wheel here. Right now the escape wheel is free to move, but when this is moved upward, you can see how it's catching it when it goes up like so. And what it does is it stops the escape wheel so that one can dial in the number of delayed minutes to hours that you want on this time lock, and it will stay ready to start moving, to start timing the moment that this little lever is pushed back. Now, just as an aside, the construction of this is a little different than what you would see with a regular T movement. The wheel works and so forth are a little bit different, but we're not going to concern ourselves with that in this demonstration. The next component of interest is the movement mounting plate. Now, normally in a regular time lock, this would just simply be a mounting plate that has springs on each side to take the shock of explosion or hammer blows without damaging the escapement. But this has also a special little piece here, this little spring right here, and you can see the way it's mounted to the frame here. The next thing that is different on a DAT lock from a regular one is also the bolt dog itself. And this is your bolt dog. And the bolt dog obviously controls the opening here for the bolt to go through. This bolt dog on a normal time lock would be just one solid piece, and it would be looking just like this here over here. But you can see it has some extra little equipment here, and what that is a spring. And I will use the demonstration of this bolt going through this hole to demonstrate this spring, and you can see the spring action here. I've now mounted the movement plate into the case, and you can see this lever here, which would normally be connected to the snubber bar that would run across here and connect to the two time lock movements. And this is spring loaded as they normally are. This is the off guard position, and this is the on guard position. And you can see when it is on guard, if the bolt tries to go through, it cannot go through and take the allow you to open up the combination, but it can press this little spring-loaded lever. We're now showing the lock in the off-guard position, and the bolt is completely within the case. So everything is allowed to be opened with the combination. Now, the purpose of the DAT is in case of a daytime robbery, one would want to be able to close the money chest or the safe very quickly and arm the time lock quickly so that the robber cannot get into that safe for a predetermined period of time to allow the police to show up after the alarm has been sounded. So what happens is if the teller sees a robbery in progress, they immediately withdraw the bolts, thereby closing the safe, and then they also turn it just the other way very quickly to push this back. Now obviously the bolt can't go all the way in, but it can go just far enough to push this little lever here, which would be in this position, pushed by the winding of the DAT time lock. The time lock is now put back together with the exception of the regular movement that would go here. So the delayed action timer is here and is all the way down to 0 with the snubber bar moved all the way to the right, and that allows this bolt to go completely into the case. Now the procedure would be to wind this movement up, which would then automatically cause the catch to stick to the to interfere with the balance wheel, thus arming this, making this ready for when it is needed. Now I'm going to wind this. And you can see as I wind it up, say for 15 minutes, now this is not running. The balance wheel is not moving because the catch has actually gone above here and has caught onto this balance wheel. Now let's assume that there's someone who's come into the bank or the jewelry store or whatever and is trying to commit a holdup. Well, then what the person does with the cash drawer or the money chest is to quickly arm the lock by either closing the door, if the door is already closed, simply by moving the bolt work over, and that would then withdraw the bolt, which you now see this has moved over, and the snubber bar is now attached to this wheel here. And at the same time, simply reverse the bolt work very slightly, and now the timer is armed. But the bolt, you'll notice, cannot go all the way in, so it is now on guard. So this automatically puts this lock on guard all through the day for the time if it needs to be quickly actuated. So it is held at bay until it needs to be actuated in case of an emergency. And where it is now set is at about a little over 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, this will roll counterclockwise, pushing the snubber bar over and allowing the bolt work to re-enter. And I can simulate that by simply moving this, and you can see the bolt in the back moving, and that would then allow one to put it all the way in. And once again, to demonstrate how this catch works, one can simply try to wind this again, which will re-engage the catch. And if you do it carefully, it won't harm the lock while it's running, but normally the catch would be engaged while the time lock is off. But you see, now it's been caught and it no longer is running. And again, the bolt work is on guard, and all it takes is a tap from here to get it running again. And again, that is to put it on guard in case of a daytime robbery. This allows one to put the lock on guard for a short enough period of time to foil a robbery before the authorities would arrive, and it allows one to do it very quickly without having to set the time lock to put it on guard, because it's always ready with simply the removal of the bolt work and then a tap.